Torture report paves way for arrest of top Zionists. Benjamin Fulford, December 15, 2014. The 500-page report of Bush-era torture issued by the U.S. Senate marks a major turning point in U.S. power. While much of what is in the report is old news to most aware humans, the fact that it was issued by the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee and the fact that it was widely reported on in the corporate propaganda media is very important. For one thing, it shows that Nazi faction of the cabal no longer controls the corporate media. It confirms information given to me earlier that the Cohen faction of the cabal had broken ranks with the Bush faction. Even more important is that, according to establishment rules, once an incident is in the news, then action must be taken. Since the United States is a signatory to the Geneva Conventions, it means their government is bound by law to prosecute war criminals. This means, just as we predicted last week, that George Bush Jr. and the entire Nazi, neocon faction of the cabal are headed for jail and possibly even the death penalty. The release of this report comes as the British Crown Prince William was in Washington to attend the World Bank Conference. Japanese government sources say that while in Washington, William signed treaties that confirmed a change of ownership of the corporate government of the United States. However, MI5 sources could only confirm that William did sign some documents. The timing of the release of the torture report may have been linked to that. Also, remember how Bush Jr. and Tony Blair each went for private audiences with Pope Malevolent, Benedict XVI, after they left office? They were showing the world they had a powerful protector and were beyond prosecution. Well, the new Pope Francis and the P2 have taken away their immunity, and that is why war crimes trials are now possible. The UN, UK government officials, the Chinese and many others are clamoring for this right now. Some of the top Bush clients around the world are now, understandably, running scared because their big patron is losing. One of these is the Dalai Lama, a hypocritical Nazi murderer who was refused an audience with the Pope last week. This means he has no protection. Another one is the Sultan of Brunei who, according to CIA agents in Southeast Asia, has always been one of the key money launderers for the Bush worldwide narcotics business. A third is the Aga Khan, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad who runs a lot of the Al-Qaeda type of stuff for the Bush faction, according to MI5 sources. The Aga Khan, the Dalai Lama and the Sultan of Brunei were all members of a secretive committee that controlled global collateral account funds that were meant to be used for the benefit of the people of the planet but were instead mostly embezzled. Meanwhile, the mysterious Philadelphia-based source who predicted such things as the attack on Malaysian Airlines is now saying the Bushes and their Kabbalists have stolen US dollar funds belonging to the Russian and Venezuelan governments. This comes after their recent theft of the Japanese government pension fund. For that reason, the people who run the UK pound and euro systems have been bypassing the US-controlled SWIFT system and are routing their transactions through Hong Kong, according to Chinese sources. In public, this can be confirmed by a statement issued last week by IMF Director Christine Lagarde. The IMF's membership has been calling on and was expecting the United States to approve the IMF's 2010 quota and governance reforms by year-end. Adoption of the reforms remains critical to strengthen the fund's credibility, legitimacy, and effectiveness, and to ensure it has sufficient permanent resources to meet its members' needs. I have now been informed by the U.S. administration that the reforms are not included in the budget legislation currently before the U.S. Congress. I have expressed my disappointment to the U.S. authorities and hope that they continue to work toward speedy ratification. As requested by our membership, we will now proceed to discuss alternative options for advancing quota and governance reforms and ensuring that the fund has adequate resources, starting with an executive board meeting in January 2015. Translation: the Europeans are going to dump the Americans and join the BRICS alliance starting in January. There has also been an ongoing tectonic plate shift in the Middle East. The Pentagon has now joined with the Russians, the Turks, the Iranians to work with Syria against the Salafist forces in Syria, according to the Mossad-linked Decca newsletter. This is very bad news for Saudi Arabia and other top benefactors of the Bush-controlled petrodollar system. The plunge in oil prices, with the market now talking $40 a barrel, is another sign the petrodollar system is in trouble. A price this low has already almost certainly bankrupted some major financial companies. Another indication that something is going down is the fact that the Baltic Dry Index is down to its lowest level since immediately after the Lehman Brothers shock. Well, remember all those dead JP Morgan bankers? Most of them involved in IT and computer-based algorithmic trading? There is growing talk that JP Morgan is going to be the next Lehman Brothers. Certainly people at the Federal Reserve Board and the U.S. Treasury Department are expecting something nasty to happen. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is seeking survival kits for its employees. These include emergency food supplies, blankets, water purifiers, etc. This is not the sort of stuff used in run-of-the-mill financial crises. The other sign is the fact the Chicago branch of the Federal Reserve Board has bricked up its windows. Clearly they are expecting trouble, since they have talked openly in the past about confiscating people's bank accounts. It may be they are getting ready for the riots that would certainly follow such a move. See minute 15 of this video for a picture of the bricked up windows. Also, if there are any readers of this newsletter in Los Angeles, we would like to ask them if they have any information on the fire shown in these pictures. It seems to have been the result of some sort of military attack and could be a sign that civil war is imminent in the U.S. Meanwhile, in Japan, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party won a massive majority at the lower house election held on December 14. However, Japanese right-wingers say that result was not going to be enough to keep slave Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in power. Some sort of leadership convention is expected after Abe steps down, for reasons of ill health, they say. We shall see.